Our next movie is a prisoner of war drama called Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. It's getting a lot of attention around the country because it stars David Bowie, the rock star, who's currently on tour around North America. I wonder if Bowie's fans are going to be surprised to find him in this thoughtful, difficult picture, a Japanese-British co-production that makes the two sides look more or less interchangeable in the war, something that I really have a problem with in this film. The movie takes place on Java in 1942, where both the British and the Japanese have basically two kinds of soldiers: patriotic militarists who are out to win at all costs, and pragmatic guys who are more looking out for themselves. In this scene, the blustering British commander, somebody that nobody likes, is being threatened by the aristocratic Japanese commander, while David Bowie and the troops look on.
How many experts in weapons and guns do you have in your group? None, sir.
You Japanese bastard!
Now here's an interesting thing. That scene we just saw was edited right before the end of the clip. A couple of shots were missing, but you couldn't really spot it unless you've seen the film, to remove what is probably the most crucial moment in this entire movie, and that's when David Bowie kisses that Japanese commander on the cheek so that he can simultaneously humiliate him in public and also acknowledge the attractions these two men feel for each other. Now, why did the studio take out that scene? Maybe because they thought it was too strong for us folks at home, I guess, but that's what the movie is about.
Sure.
It's not a war thriller. It's not a David Bowie movie. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence is a serious film about human relationships, and it's on that level, I think, that the film fails, and I'll tell you how that happens. There's such a distracting contrast between two very different traditions of film acting in this film, between the British understatement and realism and the Japanese tradition in film of hysterical overacting, that what I never really believed was that all these characters were existing in the same level of reality. The British are like this, the Japanese are jumping around, it all just becomes an exercise in style.
Well, but you know, on the acting style, that really never bothered me, because I thought, well, the Japanese are acting this way, they're Japanese, and the British are acting this way, they're British.
Did it ever occur to you that in real life Japanese don't scream and shout and tear their hair the way they always do in the movies?
Why doesn't that bother you in Japanese pictures?
Because there are only Japanese in those pictures. That's what I said. The contrast between the styles is what threw me off.
Yeah, but there's another group of people in them. Let's get back to the movie.
Okay.
Here's one of the things that I thought that was so beautiful about the picture. I like the ending. The tables are switched at the end, the war is over, and suddenly the Japanese are prisoners and the British are holding them captive, and the British guy says to one of the Japanese, he says, "You are now in prison a victim of people who think they are right, just like you thought during the war that you were right." And I thought this turned out to be, in that final scene, a beautiful pacifistic film saying that the arrogance of thinking you're right, culturally and internationally, is what starts wars and gets us into trouble.
I think you may be the only person alive who thinks this film is pacifistic, including the director, but I totally disagree with your point, which is apparently that both the Japanese and the British were kind of equal in this war. I believe that in World War II is one of the few wars in which the Japanese were wrong and the British and the Americans were right.
I think they were, but he's talking not about this specific, this is not a documentary in World War II.
But this is a specific war.
This is a very specific film about what our attitudes are that get us into war, and why we are culturally separated, and why the kiss is so shocking.
Well, I think our attitude was when they bombed Pearl Harbor, we fought back. That's a pretty good attitude.
Don't get me in the position of Roger of defending the Japanese in World War II.
Well, don't get me in the position of agreeing that this is a pacifistic film.
Okay,
far from it.
We have a treaty on that?
Okay.
Potsdam or something?
Another disagreement on Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, the Japanese war drama. Gene thought it was an effective anti-war film. I thought it was a distracting contrast in acting style.